Certainly there's been a lot of response. It's a somber mood, as you might imagine. There's been several shrines set up, not only here on Apple's headquarters and campus, but also at the Palo Alto store, Apple store just down the road. I actually have a guest with me, Jeff Clavier, who I want to bring in. He is a managing partner at SoftTech Venture Capital, invested in quite a few companies that actually develop on the Apple platform. So I think, Jeff, the first question I have tonight is kind of, you are very connected with the community here. What's been the initial reaction from your fellow VCs that you've spoken with, and also your developers and your entrepreneurs?
I think the first reaction was extreme sadness. If you look at the Twitter stream, it's all about RIP Steve, and people sort of reflecting as to how much he contributed to our ecosystem. And when you think about all the things that he helped disrupt, whether it's the personal computing industry, the movie industry, or the music industry, it's really remarkable.
He also clearly, by creating this ecosystem, provided a lot of jobs for the community. You said 10 to 20% of your portfolios are built on the iOS or the Apple kind of operating system. Going forward, how does this impact both the startups that are building in this ecosystem and as a venture capitalist when you're looking at all the different kind of companies coming into the ecosystem?
So we're clearly sort of sad that he passed away, but from the standpoint of Apple, the company, they are a company which is doing a lot of planning forward. So the next 2 to 3 years are really already plotted. So people are thinking about the impact of the iPhone 4S, which just got announced yesterday, the next iPhone 5, the next iPad. The big question is, what's going to happen in 3 years, in 5 years, once Steve is no longer there to sort of figure out the big vision for Apple? In the short term, it's not going to change much.
Now, Jeff, one thing that we've seen is just kind of an outpouring of the community coming here. We talked about the shrine over there with flowers. But also, Steve Jobs was very well known, especially here on Apple campus, as being a very tough man to deal with. Do you have any experiences or any of your companies in working with Apple and with Steve Jobs, the man? Any anecdotes that you want to share?
Yeah, my friend Martin Bascavsky, who's an entrepreneur in Spain, has this famous story about meeting with Steve Jobs to try and sell him something, and basically having the worst conversation and negotiation of his life, and basically really failing. I think he was a tough man, he was a tough negotiator, a tough boss, but people really respected him and saw him as just an inspiration, and that's what people will remember.
And I guess just the last question here, as we move forward and we look at Tim Cook at the helm, what do you think is going to be the biggest legacy that that Steve Jobs has left here in Cupertino, in Silicon Valley, in the company?
So in the company, I think that he has put in place a fantastic management team that I'm sure will carry forward, some of his vision, and then we'll have to figure out how to reinvent Apple in this new sort of configuration. In terms of the community here, Apple and Steve Jobs have just shown us that nothing is impossible. If you look at the industries he has disrupted, think about the iPhone and the effect of the iPhone on the wireless industry. The carriers have lost any power in terms of figuring out what you, as a user, have on your phone. Steve Jobs enabled that. And so the message to us is disruption always happens. It just takes a very determined visionary to actually make it happen.